Danny Cole stepped off the transport shuttle and into the Galactic Youth Academy. The space station was huge, bigger than anything he had ever seen on Earth. Lights of every color blinked from the walls. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked past him without a second look. He was just another student now, one of thousands who lived and studied here. He was 17 years old, thin, and average height for a human. His brown hair was cut short, and his eyes were a dull gray color that seemed to look at nothing and everything at the same time. He carried one small bag over his shoulder. That bag held everything he owned. A robotic guide led him through the winding corridors to his dormitory wing. The walls here were darker than the main halls. The air smelled different too, like something metallic and sharp. Danny noticed the eyes watching him as he walked. Large eyes, small eyes, eyes on stalks, eyes that glowed in the dim light. None of them looked friendly. He was one of only 3 humans at the academy. Earth had only recently joined the Galactic Coalition, and most species still thought of humans as primitives. They came from a dangerous planet, a world of extreme weather, poisonous creatures, and constant struggle. The other species called Earth a Deathworld, and they said it like an insult. Danny found his assigned room. It was small, with a bed that was too hard and a desk that was bolted to the floor. A single window showed the endless black of space outside. He set his bag down and sat on the bed. He did not unpack. He simply waited. The trouble came faster than he expected. On his second day, a group of students blocked his path in the corridor. The leader was a Vorican named Drex. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, with 4 muscular arms and skin like dark leather. His eyes were yellow and full of cruel amusement. Behind him stood 2 others. One was an insectoid called Zin, with clicking mandibles and too many legs. The other was Call, a furred creature with sharp teeth and claws that scratched the floor when he walked. Drex looked down at Danny with disgust. "So this is the human," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "I thought they would be bigger. On my world, we keep animals bigger than this." Zin made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. Call just stared with hungry eyes. Danny said nothing. He stood still and waited. Drex leaned closer. His breath smelled like rotting meat. "What is wrong with you? Are you broken? Can you not speak?" Danny looked up at him. His gray eyes were calm and empty. "I can speak," he said quietly. "Then beg," Drex said. "Beg me not to hurt you, little human. Show me that your species knows its place." Danny did not beg. He did not move. He just watched. This seemed to make Drex angry. He grabbed Danny by the front of his shirt and lifted him off the ground with 2 of his arms. Danny hung there like a doll, his feet dangling in the air. He still did not struggle. "You think you are brave?" Drex growled. "You think silence makes you strong? It makes you nothing. You are nothing." He threw Danny against the wall. Danny hit hard and slid to the floor. Pain shot through his shoulder and back. He stayed on the ground for a moment, then slowly got to his feet. His face showed no emotion. His eyes never left Drex. Some other students had gathered to watch. Among them was a human girl named Megan Price. She was a year older than Danny, with red hair and freckles across her nose. She had been at the academy longer and knew how things worked here. She watched the scene with worry in her eyes. Instructor Varath appeared at the edge of the crowd. He was a Kelthari, a tall reptilian with cold blue scales and eyes like black stones. He saw what was happening. He saw Danny on the ground and Drex standing over him. He did nothing. His thin mouth curved into something that was almost a smile, and then he walked away. The crowd began to break apart. Drex laughed and walked off with his followers. The show was over. Megan approached Danny carefully. "Are you okay?" she asked. Danny brushed dust from his clothes. "I am fine," he said. "You should report them." What they did was against the rules. Danny shook his head slowly. It would not help. Megan frowned. You cannot just let them hurt you. They will keep doing it. They will get worse. I know, Danny said. His voice was soft, almost tired. But fighting back would not be fair. Megan did not understand what he meant. She opened her mouth to ask, but Danny was already walking away. He moved through the corridor like a ghost, silent and alone. The other students stepped aside to let him pass, not out of respect, but because he seemed to carry a strange heaviness around him that made them uncomfortable. That night, Danny sat in his small room. The lights were off, and only the faint glow of distant stars came through the window. He sat at his desk and stared at the metal wall in front of him. His shoulder still ached from being thrown. His back was bruised, but his face remained calm. On the desk sat a small metal cup. It was standard issue, given to all students for water. Danny looked at it. He did not touch it. He did not move at all. The cup began to tremble. Slowly, very slowly, it rose from the desk. It floated in the air, spinning gently in the darkness. Then it began to crush inward. The metal groaned and bent. The cup folded in on itself like paper, smaller and smaller, until it was a tight ball no bigger than a marble. Danny caught it in his hand. The metal was warm from the pressure. He held it for a moment, then set it down. His gray eyes reflected the starlight. They were not empty anymore. Something moved behind them, something old and patient and very, very dangerous. He had made a promise to himself a long time ago. He would not use his abilities unless there was no other choice. He would not become a monster just because others treated him like prey. He would be patient. He would be quiet. He would wait, but everyone had a limit. Even the quiet ones. Especially the quiet ones. Danny lay down on his hard bed and closed his eyes. Tomorrow would bring more pain and more cruelty. He would endure it the way humans had always endured, the way his ancestors had survived a world that tried to kill them every single day. He would wait. And if they pushed too far, they would learn why Earth was called a Deathworld. The weeks passed slowly at the Galactic Youth Academy. For Danny Cole, each day brought new cruelty. Drex and his followers had made him their favorite target, and nothing seemed to stop them. They destroyed his belongings first. Danny returned to his room one evening to find his clothes torn and scattered across the floor. His datapad was smashed into pieces. The few personal items he had brought from Earth were gone, probably thrown into the waste recyclers. He stood in the doorway and looked at the mess. Then he cleaned it up without a word. They tripped him in the hallways. They knocked food from his hands in the eating hall. They spread rumors that humans carried diseases, that touching one would make you sick. Soon, most students avoided Danny completely. They did not want to be associated with him. They did not want to become targets themselves. Danny accepted all of it. He never complained. He never reported the abuse to any instructor. He simply existed, moving through the academy like a shadow that no one wanted to see. Megan Price watched from a distance. She was the only human who still talked to him, though even she was careful about when and where. She had tried to help him those first few days, but Danny always refused. He seemed determined to handle everything alone. One afternoon, she found him sitting in a quiet corner of the academy library. His face was bruised from a recent encounter with Call. His lip was split and still bleeding slightly. He was reading something on a borrowed datapad. Completely calm, Megan sat down across from him. "This has to stop," she said quietly. Danny looked up. "It will stop eventually." "When?" "When they kill you." "They will not kill me." "How can you be sure?" Danny was quiet for a moment. His gray eyes studied her face. "Because if they tried to kill me, it would not be fair to them." There it was again. That strange phrase. Megan leaned forward. "What does that mean?" You keep saying things would not be fair. Fair to who? They are the ones hurting you. Danny set down the datapad. He looked around to make sure no one else was listening. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Humans evolved on a Deathworld, he said. You know this. Everyone here knows this. But they do not understand what it really means. We survived, Megan said. We adapted. That is what Deathworld species do. Some of us adapted in ways that go beyond survival. Danny held up his hand and looked at it. Some of us developed abilities that should not be possible. Things that science cannot fully explain. The human brain is more powerful than most species realize. Under enough stress, under enough danger, some humans can do things that others cannot. Megan felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of things? Danny did not answer directly. Instead, he said, if I fought back against Drex, I could not control what would happen. My abilities are connected to my survival instinct. When my body truly believes it is in danger, something takes over. Something I cannot stop. You are telling me you have some kind of power? I am telling you that I am very dangerous, Danny said softly, and that I do not want to hurt anyone. So I let them hit me. I let them mock me, because the alternative would be much worse. Megan did not know what to say. Part of her thought he might be lying or exaggerating, but something in his eyes told her he was speaking the truth. There was a weight there, a sadness that came from carrying a heavy secret. That same evening, there was a combat training class. All students were required to attend. Instructor Vorath ran the session with cold efficiency. Students were paired up to demonstrate basic defensive techniques. When Danny's turn came, he was paired with Drex. The choice was deliberate. Vorath wanted to see the humans suffer. The other students gathered around the training mat, eager to watch. Drex smiled with all his teeth. Try not to break too quickly, little human. Danny stood in the ready position. His stance was weak. His arms hung loosely at his sides. He looked like someone who had never been in a fight before. Drex attacked. He was fast for his size, and his forearms gave him a huge advantage. He grabbed Danny and threw him across the mat. Danny hit the ground hard and rolled to a stop. Get up, Drex said. Danny got up slowly. Drex attacked again. This time, he struck Danny across the face with an open palm. The sound echoed through the training hall. Dessa diers en in the same design sure they doing in the training hall. Danny stumbled, but did not fall. Is this the best Earth can offer? Drex laughed. Weak, pathetic. Your whole species is a joke. The beating continued for several minutes. Danny never threw a single punch. He never tried to block or dodge. He simply absorbed the damage and kept getting back up. By the end, his face was swollen and blood dripped from his nose. But his eyes remained calm and empty. Instructor Vorath finally called an end to the match. He marked Danny as having failed the exercise. Drex walked away laughing with his friends. Megan helped Danny to the medical station. The automated systems treated his injuries, but the damage to his pride was something machines could not fix. Later that night, Megan could not sleep. Something Danny had said kept repeating in her mind. She decided to find him. She searched the dormitory halls until she reached the observation deck. It was a large room with windows that looked out into space. Most students came here during the day to watch ships arrive and depart. At night, it was usually empty, but Danny was there. He stood in the center of the room, alone in the darkness. And he was not alone. Small objects floated around him in a slow orbit. Datapads, cups, loose screws, bits of paper. They moved in lazy circles, rising and falling like leaves on a gentle wind. Danny stood perfectly still in the center of it all, his eyes closed, his breathing slow and steady. Megan gasped. Instantly. Every floating object dropped to the floor with a clatter. Danny's eyes snapped open. He turned and saw her standing in the doorway. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "Please," Danny said finally. His voice was tired and sad. "Please do not tell anyone." Megan stepped into the room. Her heart was pounding. "How long have you been able to do this?" "Since I was a child. It started small, moving tiny things when I was scared or angry. As I got older, it got stronger." He looked at his hands. "Now it is hard to control, especially when I feel threatened." "Is that why you let them hurt you?" Danny nodded. "If I ever truly felt that my life was in danger, something inside me would react, and I do not think I could stop it. People would die." Megan understood now. The quiet acceptance. The empty eyes. Danny was not weak. He was holding something back. Something terrible. "Your secret is safe with me," she said softly. Danny looked at her, and for the first time since she had known him, she saw something other than emptiness in his eyes. She saw gratitude. And beneath that, she saw fear. Not fear of Drex or the other bullies. Fear of himself. Word traveled fast on the space station. Within days, Drex learned that Danny had been seen talking with Megan Price in the library and the medical station. This made him angry. The human was supposed to be alone. The human was supposed to be broken. Drex decided that both of them needed to be taught a lesson. He gathered Zin and Call in the lower maintenance quarters. These tunnels ran beneath the main floors of the academy. They were used by repair robots and cleaning drones. Students were not supposed to enter them, but Drex had found a way in months ago. It was the perfect place for private business. "The human female goes to the engineering lab every evening," Drex said. "She walks back to her dormitory through the east corridor. We will wait for her there." Caw scratched his claws against the metal floor. "What about the male? The quiet one?" "He will come," Drex said with a cruel smile. "When he hears that his friend is in trouble, he will come running. And then we will deal with both of them." Zin clicked his mandibles nervously. Something is strange about that human. He never fights back. He never shows fear. It is not normal. "He is afraid," Drex said firmly. "All weak things are afraid. He simply hides it well. Tonight, we will make him show it." They moved through the corridors like shadows and found their position near a junction where two hallways met. The lights here were dim, and there were no security cameras. It was perfect that Megan left the engineering lab at the usual time. She was thinking about the project she had been working on, a small communication device that could translate any language in real time. Her mind was elsewhere. She did not notice the figures waiting in the darkness until it was too late. Drex stepped out in front of her. Zin and Call appeared behind her, blocking any escape. "Hello, human," Drex said. His yellow eyes gleamed in the low light. Megan's heart began to pound. She looked around quickly, but there was no one else in sight. "What do you want?" "You have been spending time with the quiet one. The broken human who does not fight back. I do not like that. We are both humans. We talk sometimes. That is not a crime." "Everything I say is a crime, Drex said. He moved closer. "You should have stayed away from him. Now you will share his punishment." Call grabbed Megan's arms from behind and held her still. She struggled, but his grip was too strong. Zin moved to block the corridor, his many eyes watching for anyone who might approach. Drex reached out with one of his 4 hands and grabbed Megan's chin. He forced her to look at him. "I am going to hurt you now. And when your friend finds out, he will come to save you. And then I will hurt him too. Maybe this time, I will make sure he does not get back up." "Leave her alone." The voice came from the end of the corridor. It was quiet, calm, and carried no emotion at all. Danny Cole stood in the shadows. No one had heard him approach. He simply appeared, like a ghost stepping out of the darkness. Drax laughed. There he is, the quiet one. I knew you would come. Danny walked forward slowly. His gray eyes moved from Drax to Call to Zin, studying each of them in turn. His face was blank. His body was relaxed. He looked like someone going for a peaceful walk, not someone walking into a fight. Let her go, Danny said. Or what? Drax released Megan's chin and turned to face Danny fully. What will you do, human? You cannot fight. You cannot run. You are nothing. Please, Danny said. His voice was still calm, but there was something underneath it now. A warning. I do not want to hurt anyone. Let her go, and we can all walk away. Drax found this funny. He laughed loud and long, and his followers joined in. Hurt anyone? You? The weakling who cannot even throw a punch. He reached into his coat and pulled out something that made Megan gasp. It was a blade, long and sharp, made of some dark metal that seemed to absorb the light around it. Weapons were strictly forbidden on the Academy. Possession of one meant immediate expulsion and possible prison time. Drax did not seem to care. I am tired of playing with you, Drax said. He held up the blade so Danny could see it clearly. Tonight I am going to carve a lesson into your skin. Something you will never forget. Something that will remind you of your place every time you look in a mirror. Megan struggled against Call's grip. Danny, run! Get help! But Danny did not run. He did not even move. He stood perfectly still, his eyes fixed on the blade in Drex's hand. Last chance, Danny said quietly. Let her go. Drax snarled and charged forward. He was fast, incredibly fast. The blade cut through the air toward Danny's chest. It should have struck home. It should have buried itself in human flesh. It stopped. The blade froze in midair, 1 inch from Danny's body. Drex's arm froze with it. He tried to pull back, tried to move, but nothing happened. His muscles would not obey him. His body was locked in place like a statue. Behind him, Zin tried to run. His legs stopped working. He collapsed to the floor, completely paralyzed. Call released Megan and tried to flee in the other direction. He got 3 steps before he too froze in place. Megan stumbled away from Call and pressed herself against the wall. Her eyes were wide with shock as she watched the scene unfold. Danny had not moved. He had not raised a hand. He had not spoken a word. But something had changed in his eyes. They were no longer empty. They burned with a cold, quiet light that seemed to come from somewhere deep inside him. Drex's yellow eyes were wide with terror. He could not speak, but his fear was written across his face. He had made a terrible mistake. He had pushed too far. I warned you, Danny said softly. His voice was different now. There was no emotion in it at all. It was the voice of something ancient and patient. Something that had survived countless dangers and emerged stronger each time. I told you it would not be fair. The blade in Drex's hand began to glow red as invisible pressure crushed it. The metal groaned and twisted, then shattered into 100 pieces that fell to the floor like rain. Drex tried to scream, but no sound came out. Danny took a single step forward. The air around him seemed to shimmer, like heat rising from hot ground. The lights in the corridor flickered. Somewhere in the distance, a warning alarm began to sound. Now, Danny said, let me show you what a Deathworld human really is. The corridor was silent, except for the distant hum of the space station systems. Drex hung in the air, suspended by forces he could not see or understand. His forearms were spread wide, his body frozen in the position of attack. Only his eyes could move, and they were full of pure terror. Danny Cole stood before him, calm and still. The air around Danny shimmered like a heat mirage. His gray eyes glowed with a faint light that seemed to come from somewhere beyond the physical world. "Do you know what a Deathworld is?" Danny asked. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. "It is a planet where everything wants to kill you. The weather, the animals, the plants, even the water and the air can be deadly. Humans evolved on such a world. We survived there for millions of years." Drex tried to speak, but his mouth would not move. His throat was tight, held by an invisible hand. Danny continued. "Most species look at humans and see small, weak creatures. No claws, no armor, no venom. They think we survived by luck or by hiding from danger. They are wrong." He took a slow step closer to Drex. The Vorakan's eyes followed him with desperate fear. "We survived because we adapted. Our bodies became efficient. Our minds became sharp. We learned to use tools, to work together, to think ahead. But some of us developed something more. Something that even other humans do not fully understand." Danny raised his hand slightly. Drex rose higher into the air, his legs kicking uselessly. When a human is pushed to the edge of death, when every survival instinct fires at once, the mind can do things that science calls impossible. We call it many names. Some say it is evolution. Some say it is mutation. Some say it is something older, something that was always there, waiting to be awakened. Behind Danny, Zin and Kal lay on the floor, completely paralyzed. They could hear everything, see everything, but they could not move a single muscle. Zin's many eyes blinked rapidly in panic. Kal whimpered softly, a sound that came from deep in his throat. Megan stood against the wall, her hand over her mouth. She had known Danny had abilities, but she had never imagined anything like this. He was holding 3 aliens frozen with nothing but his mind. And he was doing it without any visible effort at all. Danny looked up at Drex. "I gave you many chances. I let you hurt me. I let you mock me. I let you destroy my things and turn others against me. I did this because I did not want to hurt you. Because I knew that if I ever used my abilities, I might not be able to stop." He lowered his hand slightly, and Drex descended until they were face to face. The Vorakan's yellow eyes were wet with tears of terror. "But then you threatened her." Danny glanced at Megan, then back at Drex. "You threatened an innocent person just to get to me. And you pulled a blade. You were going to cut me, maybe kill me. And my body decided that I was in danger." The air grew heavier. The lights flickered again. A low rumble seemed to come from everywhere at once. "When my survival instinct activates, I cannot control it. It acts on its own. It removes threats. Do you understand? You became a threat the moment the blade came toward me." Danny raised his hand again. Drex's right arm, the one that had held the blade, began to twist. Slowly, the bones inside made small cracking sounds. Drex's eyes went wide. If he could have screamed, he would have screamed louder than anyone had ever screamed before. "This is what happens when you push a Deathworld human too far," Danny said. "This is what evolution gave us. Not claws or fangs or armor. Something worse. Something that works on a level you cannot fight against." With a final wet snap, Drex's arm bent at an angle that arms were not meant to bend. The bone broke cleanly, and the limb hung limp and useless. Danny released his hold. Drex crashed to the floor and finally found his voice. He screamed in agony, clutching his broken arm with his other 3 hands. The sound echoed through the corridor like the cry of a dying animal. Behind him, Zin and Kal suddenly found they could move. They scrambled to their feet and ran without looking back. Their footsteps faded into the distance as they fled in pure terror. Danny did not chase them. He let them go. He turned to Megan, and she saw that his eyes were returning to normal. The cold light was fading. The shimmer in the air was gone. He looked tired, deeply tired, like someone who had just finished carrying a heavy weight for a very long time. "I am sorry you had to see that," he said quietly. Megan could not speak at first. She was still processing what she had witnessed. Finally, she found her voice. "Are you okay?" Danny looked down at Drex, who was curled on the floor, sobbing in pain. "I did not kill him. I wanted to. Part of me still wants to. But I did not. Danny." "We should go," he said. "Security will be here soon." He walked toward her and gently took her hand. His fingers were warm, and she could feel the faintest tremor in them. He was shaking. He was more afraid than he wanted to show. They left Drex lying in the corridor and walked toward the upper levels. Alarms were ringing now, and lights were flashing in the hallways. Security teams would find Drex soon. They would ask questions. But Danny did not seem worried. "What will happen now?" Megan asked. "They will review the security footage. They will see Drex attacking me with a forbidden weapon. They will see me standing still while his arm somehow broke." Danny shrugged slightly. "They will not understand how it happened. But they will have to punish him for the blade. And you?" "I will answer their questions. I will say I do not know what happened. That everything went strange, and then he was on the ground." Danny looked at her with a small, sad smile. "It is the truth, from a certain point of view. I do not fully understand how my abilities work. I just know they protect me when I need protection." They reached a quiet corner near the observation deck. Danny stopped and leaned against the wall. The exhaustion was clear on his face now. "I have never used that much power before," he admitted. "It takes something out of me. I will need to rest." Megan stood beside him. "Danny, what you can do, it is incredible and terrifying. I know. But you saved me. You stopped them without killing anyone." Danny closed his eyes. "I came close. Closer than I ever have before. When I saw him holding that blade, when I felt true danger for the first time in years, something woke up inside me. Something that wanted to destroy everything in that corridor. But you did not. No." He opened his eyes and looked at her. "Because of you. Seeing you there reminded me that not everyone is an enemy. That some things are worth protecting instead of destroying." Megan felt tears forming in her eyes. She did not fully understand this quiet boy with the terrifying power. But she knew he was good. Whatever darkness lived inside him, he fought against it every single day. "Thank you," she whispered. Danny nodded. "We should get back to our rooms before they find us here. Tomorrow will be complicated." They walked together through the quiet corridors, two humans alone on a station full of aliens. And for the first time since arriving at the academy, Danny Cole did not feel completely alone. The investigation lasted 3 days. Security officers reviewed every piece of footage, interviewed witnesses, and examined the corridor where the incident had occurred. What they found raised more questions than answers. The footage showed Drex pulling a blade and attacking Danny. It showed Danny standing completely still. Then, somehow, Drex's arm twisted and broke without anyone touching it. The blade shattered into pieces that scattered across the floor. The footage showed all of this clearly, but it explained nothing. Drex was taken to the medical wing. His arm required extensive surgery to repair. The doctors said he would recover, but he would never have full strength in that limb again. When security asked him what happened, he refused to speak. His yellow eyes were empty and distant. Whatever he had experienced in that corridor had broken something inside him. Zin and Call told a different story. They said the human had used some kind of power, something invisible that had frozen him in place. They described the way the air had shimmered, the way the lights had flickered. They said the human's eyes had glowed. The security officers wrote down their statements but did not seem to believe them. Instructor Vorath was questioned about the ongoing harassment. Footage showed him witnessing multiple incidents and doing nothing. He was given a formal warning and removed from dormitory supervision. He accepted the punishment without complaint, but his cold eyes found Danny in the hallways afterward. There was fear in them now. Danny was questioned separately. He sat in a small room with 2 security officers and answered their questions calmly. What happened in that corridor? The lead officer asked. Drex attacked me with a blade, Danny said. I thought I was going to die. Then something happened. I did not understand what. The next thing I knew, he was on the ground and his arm was broken. You did not touch him? No. You did not have any kind of weapon? No. The officers looked at each other. They had no explanation for what the footage showed. Humans were supposed to be weak. Humans did not have telekinetic abilities. Yet the evidence was there, impossible to deny. We will need to report this to the coalition authorities, the lead officer said finally. There will be more questions. I understand, Danny said. He was released from questioning and returned to his dormitory. The halls were different now. Students who had ignored him before now stepped aside when he passed. They whispered behind their hands and watched him with wide eyes. Some looked afraid. Others looked curious. A few looked at him with something like respect. The rumors spread quickly. The quiet human had powers. The quiet human had broken a Vurican's arm without touching him. The quiet human was dangerous. A week later, a coalition official arrived at the academy. Her name was Administrator Vesh, and she was a tall being with silver skin and eyes that seemed to see everything at once. She requested a private meeting with Danny. They sat in a small conference room. Administrator Vesh studied Danny for a long moment before speaking. Earth has a registry, she said. A list of humans with unusual abilities. Your name is on that list. Danny nodded slowly. My parents registered me when I was young. They thought it would keep me safe. The registry is classified. Only a few high-level officials know about it. Administrator Vesh folded her hands on the table. The incident here has drawn attention. There are people in the coalition who are very interested in what you can do. What do they want? They want to study you, train you, perhaps use you. Danny's gray eyes met hers. And if I refuse? That is your right. You are a free citizen of the coalition. No one can force you to do anything. Administrator Vesh paused. But I would advise you to be careful. There are those who fear what they do not understand. And there are those who would seek to control it. I just want to be left alone, Danny said quietly. I understand. For now, I will file my report and recommend that you be allowed to continue your studies here. The incident has been classified as self-defense. Drex has been expelled for possession of a weapon and assault. She stood up. But be aware that this will not be the last time someone comes asking questions. Danny nodded. Thank you for the warning. Administrator Vesh left, and Danny sat alone in the conference room for a long time. The weight of her words pressed down on him. His secret was no longer fully secret. People knew. People were watching. He returned to the dormitory and found Megan waiting outside his room. How did it go? She asked. They are not going to arrest me, Danny said. But they are not going to forget me either. Megan walked with him into his room. It was still small and bare, but someone had left fresh clothes on his bed to replace the ones that had been destroyed. A new datapad sat on his desk. The other students are talking about you, Megan said. They are scared. Good. Maybe they will leave me alone now. Is that what you want? To be alone? Danny sat on his bed and looked up at her. I have always been alone. It is safer that way. For everyone? Megan sat beside him. You do not have to be. Not anymore. Before Danny could respond, there was a soft knock at the door. He opened it and found a small alien standing in the hallway. It was a Falari, a species that looked like a mixture of cat and lizard. They were known for being shy and timid. This one was young, maybe the equivalent of 12 human years. Its large eyes blinked nervously. "You are the human," it said softly. "The one who stopped Drex." Danny knelt down to be at the same level. "Yes, Drex hurt me too," the young Falari said. "He hurt many of us. But no one did anything. No one could stop him." Its eyes filled with tears. "Thank you for stopping him." Danny did not know what to say. He had not fought Drex to be a hero. He had fought to protect himself and Megan. But looking at this small, frightened creature, he realized that his actions had helped others too. "You are safe now," Danny said gently. "He will not hurt anyone again." The Falari nodded and wiped its eyes. Then it turned and hurried away down the corridor. Danny stood up and closed the door. When he turned around, Megan was smiling. "What?" he asked. "You are not a monster, Danny, no matter what you think. You are just someone trying to survive. And today, you helped someone else survive too." Danny thought about her words. He had spent so long seeing his abilities as a curse, something to be hidden and feared. But maybe there was another way to look at it. Maybe he could use his power to protect people instead of just protecting himself. The next day, Danny went to the eating hall at the usual time. The other students still watched him with nervous eyes. But this time, when he sat down at the table, he did not sit alone. The young Falari appeared beside him, carrying a tray of food. "Can I sit with you?" it asked. Danny nodded. A moment later, Megan joined them. Then another student, a quiet girl from one of the outer worlds, who had also been bullied. Then another. And another. By the time the meal was finished, Danny's table was full. Not with friends, not yet, but with people who had seen what he could do and understood that he was not the enemy. People who knew that sometimes the quiet ones were the most dangerous of all. And that was not always a bad thing. Word spread through the Galactic Coalition in the months that followed. Stories were told about the human from the Deathworld. The one who sat quietly through years of abuse. The one who could break bones without moving. The one who proved that humans were not just survivors. Some humans were the reason Earth was called a Deathworld in the first place. And Danny Cole was one of them.